Just have PD, it'll be fun, let's go get in a room. And then it's like, how do we move the couches from the lobby of the Hart District all the way over here? So here we are. So I'm gonna kind of start with a couple of activities, and we're gonna try to go through them pretty quickly, but I want you to indulge me a little bit if you don't mind. One of the things that I've been researching a lot, that the team knows a lot about, is that I'm spending a lot of time researching and writing about millennials. And one of the things about millennials is that, and by the way, even though we're not millennials, we do this too, they're really attached to their technology, right? Like that's clearly kind of an issue. Stop shaking your head. Anyway, so one of the things that we're recommending, or that's been recommended in a lot of texts that I'm reading, is that in order to help millennials, we tell them when we're having a meeting or when we're in an environment like this where part of it is about relationships and part of it is about connecting to the content, we put our technology away and we turn it off or we silence it and we don't look at it for the 90 minutes that we're together. So I'm going to ask you to do that so that you can be fully present and engaged today as we have our minimum day activity together. So here we go. Here's the rush. District as a well-prepared graduate student. What is the one word, the one adjective that you would think of to describe that student that would make them, in your mind, the best prepared graduate from the William S. Hart High School District? How would they be most prepared once they leave us? So hold that adjective in your mind, open your eyes, look to each other, share with each other what that word is, kind of around the table, and then pick one from your table, put it on a sticky note, please. There are flip chart papers on both sides here, and here's just a hint. Can I kind of give you a look ahead? This activity is going to happen 3 times, so whoever doesn't want to get up, make that decision, but 3 different runners eventually. So one word per about what they want from a Hart District graduate. So what one adjective would an employer use to describe what they want from a Hart District graduate? Same exact thing? Think of your own words, share around, and pick one for your table. Okay, same thing. This is the last round. This time, as an educator or as a student, for those of you back here, what adjective would you use to, I'm sorry, that's not true. As a parent, as a parent or a student, of what adjective would be used that is the most important one to describe that well-prepared graduate. So think about the parents that, yourself as a parent or the parents that you interact with at your schools. Think about your parents or, yep. So as a parent, what's that one adjective? audio will go ahead, and then I'm going to read out what our panel members had to say. Okay.
And I'm reading the entire board, right?
Like an auctioneer, yes.
Okay. May I have $500, please? Oh. Confident, problem solver, tailored, capable, self-starter, excuse me, that's hyphenated, driven, well-rounded, elated, reliable, focused, motivationally prepared, another hyphenation, focused, resourceful, self-starter, initiative, efficient, listener, professionalism, alert, energetic, inquisitive, productive, self-sufficient, well-rounded, and career goal-oriented, double hyphenated, trainable, self-sufficient, confident, competent, resourceful, ready, trainable.
Okay, on this side we have confident, professional, responsible, driven, entrepreneur, everywhere, self-sufficient, adaptable, well-balanced, resourceful and gritty, employable, stable, motivated, self-control, and I think, did I say reliable? That's the last one.
All right, our panel members. Successful, integrity, well-rounded, diligent, teachable, determined, cooperative, detail-oriented, confident, resilient, perceptive, ambitious. Did you guys hear those words on ours? No, so that's interesting. Again, we've never done this before, so I'm as surprised as you are. I'm kind of looking at it going, I think that's what would have happened, but I'm not sure if this is what's going to happen. It happened, so different words. So that's kind of a really great outcome just off the cuff there. So wonderful. Thank you for participating with me on that part of it. I'm going to introduce a couple people really quick, and then we're going to transition. Thank you, ladies. Oh, that's right. Just wanted to introduce a couple of wonderful guests that are with us. Mr. Mike Coleman, our Assistant Superintendent of Ed Services, is joining us today. And some of you know our Dean of Career Technical Education from College of the Canyons, Harriet Happel, and congratulate her. She just was announced Dean last month. Congratulations. And for those of you, just a quick housekeeping item before we transition. If you came in a little bit late, I had asked everyone if they would please either silence or turn off their telephones for the next hour in order to really be fully present and engaged with us. The other piece that I just wanted to share with you, because as we're getting through all of our work together as a team, you should kind of know from a personnel perspective some transitions, and one of those transitions is that Denise Miller, our admin assistant, was just hired as the new executive assistant for the CFO at our district office. So really excited for her, really excited for us. We have an impeccable talent of finding good talent. Our wonderful panelists, and so I'm actually going to have them introduce themselves. They're going to share a little bit about who they are, where they went to school, and where they're at now. And all of our panelists, I believe, have been in a career pathway, and so they're going to share a little bit about that as well. And I will then kind of moderate this panel. So I've got a number of questions. At the end, you'll have an opportunity to ask them questions as well. Okay? All right, let's get started.
Hello. All right, well, my name's Jeremy Villalobos. I went to Hart High School. I went through when all these classes were ROP, not CCR, so that was 10 years ago. So there was no technical pathway when I was going through. I would guess it'd be under public safety, is what I would be. And right now I'm a firefighter with the city of Bakersfield. I've been with them for almost 4 years now. Oh, yeah. I guess I teach the academy here as well. There you go.
Hi, my name's Tanner Williams. I went to West Ranch High School. I was part of Mrs. Cox's business career path. I then went to the University of Southern California, where I graduated with a degree in business administration. and now I'm an investment analyst for a real estate company.
Do you see Mrs. Cox over there like a proud mother with her? She's like, no.
Hi, my name is Chloe Nell. I went to Saugus High School and I was in the video production pathway. Currently, I am going to COC and I'm working as a site coordinator and camera operator for Live Nation concerts.
Hey everyone, my name is Jake and I also went to Saugus High School. I was in the video production career pathway. I also was in their RLP program and the CCR program. Currently, I also go to COC while I'm also freelancing for different movie companies and videographer for wedding.
Okay, so first question. What experiences best prepared you for your current work and lifestyle?
Well, yeah, I'm still on? Okay. Well, I would say that when I went through the ROP program, I went through the fire academy that was offered through this district, which I now am the lead instructor at. I would say that was probably the biggest push for me, because that's what gave me the, I guess, the itch to want to become a firefighter. And what was the second part of the question?
Your lifestyle. What best prepared you for it?
Lifestyle. All right. Yeah, I would honestly say that academy definitely set in, I guess, how I based my life and stuff like that. Like as far as like some of the words that I wrote up here on the board, like being determined, having integrity, and resilience, especially for wanting to become a firefighter. It's not the easiest thing in the world, and I had many failures until I got where I am today. So that's what I would say.
I guess mine would have to be, again, Mrs. Cox's career path program, and also being part of the stock market club. I think the biggest benefit of doing that career path was that, I mean, I've always known I wanted to go into business, but I was able to like kind of look through every different aspect of business, whether it's like marketing or just, you know, analyzing stocks while I was part of the stock market club. So I think that kind of prepared me for college. So, I mean, I declared as a finance major as soon as I started.
Sorry. I would definitely say that being part of the CTE video production program was what gave me the push to go into the career that I am currently in. Mr. Williams with Saugus Video Production pushing us to work on movie sets and kind of become integrated into the entertainment industry definitely helped, because we got a sense of the environment and what it takes to kind of make it in that field.
Yeah, I kind of agree with the same thing. I went to Saugus High School as well, and I was in the CCR program, and it was the ROP program as well. It was a transition in between. And it was a great opportunity to be able to work with people in the field of our interest, where, you know, we got to interact with the business leads, and we had to talk with them and work with them on the projects that they wanted, what they envisioned. And for me personally, after my last year as a senior in the RLP program, I was able to establish relationships with some of these directors and film producers who, after high school, I was able to start getting work and jobs with. And so being able to work with the program, interact with people, be on the set, and see how they use the tools and how they act on the professional side of it, and kind of helped make me responsible and kind of helped me kind of figure out how I needed to get into the field.
Thank you. So next question. With whom did you have the most important relationship in your high school experience? I'm going to start over here on this side.
Well, for me in the CTE program, it was really people who were all in the program. So I was also in the Saugus News Network, and I was in the the movie program class and the RLP. So all those people, we all had the same interest, and we all worked together. It's a cooperative experience where we produce a movie together. So since we all had the same interest, I kind of built up relationships with them, and all my friends, we still, to this day, we're all working together and producing projects, and so those were the people that I thought, really, I've really established a good relationship with.
I definitely agree with that. A lot of the classes we were able to take with like-minded people allowed for a lot of networking. So we know each other, and later on we can help each other, navigate this industry and get jobs with one another.
I again have to say Mrs. Cox and the Stock Market Club. We're still, I graduated like 6 or 7 years ago, and we still talk all the time. And then I'm still friends with pretty much everybody that was in the Stock Market Club, and we're all still able to network with one another. Most of us are someone in the same industry, so I think that really helped.
Well, I'd have to say the person that definitely was the most influential on me is actually in this room, and it's my lovely bride that's sitting right over there. Yeah, you're welcome, 50 Shades of Red. But in all seriousness, she was there with me from the start, with me, when I wanted to become a firefighter, and I've had my ups, and I've definitely had my downs, to where I got to the point to where I didn't think I was going to do it anymore, because I kept getting rejection after rejection after rejection. And she just said, stick with it, you are going to get this job one day. And now here I am, 4 years into it, and now I'm looking to promote now. So that's what I just want to say. Thank you, babe. I love you.
All right, 50 Shades of Red. So what surprised you when you left high school, or where were you most prepared, and where did you feel least prepared? And we'll start with you, Jeremy.
I would say what surprised me after high school is finding out the real world sucks. Being honest. It definitely, I think the biggest shock for me was, especially once, getting on my own. That was the biggest shocker, having to pay taxes, and learn about auto loans, and mortgage, and all that other fun stuff. That's besides the point. But, and what was the other part of the question?
Either how do you feel most prepared or least prepared? Where were you most prepared and where were you least prepared?
I would say I was most prepared in, I guess, the mindset that I had for wanting to get the job that I have today. And I would say that all started with Kelly Chulik. Some of you in here may know him. He was old school, lack of a better term, hard-nosed, old school fireman. Getting yelled at by him definitely makes you think about your life choices. But yeah, I would say what he instilled in me, and I guess the discipline I learned from him, and understanding the characteristics that you need to become a good firefighter, is definitely what helped me out, and I guess set me apart from all the other competition.
I'd have to say the hardest thing was probably, it's like just a huge jump from your senior year, where you kind of like everybody has senioritis, and then like jumping into your first year at USC, it was definitely a lot harder than I expected. But I think what most prepared me was just being able to work hard and stay persistent, whether, if it was a hard class or if it was just getting used to just going to college for the first time.
I would say that I was kind of surprised about how laid back the music industry was compared to the film industry, which I had been working with for the last 6 years. So that part was definitely a shock, but I definitely feel like I was most prepared because I had developed a lot of good people skills and how to work with others in a team. And that definitely helps when you're trying to build a stage and for a concert in a matter of 7 hours.
I think the biggest shocker for me was after high school, kind of that transition, kind of like, you get more responsibility after high school and you have to worry about getting jobs and, starting to pay for your own share with insurance or, whatever payments you have to make. And so for me, it was just kind of seeing that, how much of the responsibility was on me to get my own work and to find jobs and to stay motivated and working rather than hang out with friends and pick what's most responsible first over, just doing things that are more fun. And so I think that was more of a shocker and like, it's all up to me to be successful. It's not, I can't just have my parents do that for me or any of my friends or anybody like that. So I think that was a shocker for me, but I think the most successful part for me, which I felt more prepared for, was because of the CTE program, I was able to work well and communicate well with the people in the film industry side of it. So when I did get interviews for certain jobs and stuff, it was easy for me to have my people skills to be able to talk and communicate and act confident and work with these people so I can get these jobs and these opportunities.
Okay, so this last question I have to kind of rethink, because when you write things at night, they sound better then than they do when you're reading them at 1 in the afternoon. Okay, so you have the opportunity to share with us a little bit about your perspective on how to change school as an institution, okay? So if you could change schools, so not necessarily your individual school that you graduated from, but the educational institution, what would you change based on your experiences to make sure that students get to that you described up there, okay? So I changed the question on you, so if you need a second, but Jeremy, if you want to kick us off.
Make sure I don't miss anything. Can we repeat the whole thing?
No.
I guess I got the gist of it. What would I change? I would say trying to get, more real life, classes and stuff taught in schools, because you go out into college in the real world and you're kind of going blind. Like, yeah, you learn economics and stuff like that, but it's economics, and you get to learn about the stock market and stuff like that. You don't get to learn, hey, how do I balance my checkbook? Or how do I, make sure I have enough, or how do I budget? How do I, stuff like that. So just, real life practical applications. I'm trying to, at least for me, since I teach now at the Fire Academy here, I'm teaching these students not only skills to become a firefighter, but real life skills. Like, yeah, they're gonna learn how to clean, they're gonna learn how to cook, they're gonna learn how to interview skills, which is a huge one, resume writing, all that stuff. So I think that's probably the one thing that I would say that I wish I had when I was in high school.
Pretty similar answer. Again, I think it's real life experiences. I think it wouldn't be like a bad idea for every student to join a career path. I know a lot of issues in college is, people change their major like 5 or 6 times. I think it'd be a great idea for them to change their career path 5 or 6 times in high school, so by the time they get to college, they can focus on what they really want to do after.
One of the things I would change is definitely advertising and pushing more for CTE, just because most kids don't know about it, and they only find out about it if they're already interested in that and taking one of those classes. So kind of pushing a class on them, I guess, just to kind of get them into it would probably be better than just letting them go and take normal electives.
Yeah, I kind of agree with everybody. I think getting more involved with the real world experiences and stuff and promoting the CTE programs and stuff, it's allowing people to interact with people who are already in the fields and in the jobs. So that way, in high school, while you're also getting your general education done and out of the way, you're also able to had some kind of experience as an intern or whatever with different companies or different people. So it kind of gives you an idea of where you might want to go in college. even if maybe college is the route you want to go, maybe college isn't necessary, but you can build that job and internship from wherever you came from and then just build off from there, because a lot of jobs don't necessarily have to be educated. It can be more skills or an apprenticeship programs. So I think that.
Thank you. I almost cried over there. That was pretty amazing. So, my last question to you. You have, I just counted the tables that are empty, so you have 150 educators here, no pressure. What would you want to tell us in terms of advice? What advice do you want to give all of us?
I think advice that I could give is, I guess, just a lot of the patience and willingness to allow students to kind of make mistakes, but allow them to learn from it. I think a lot of students, especially I think in our, at least in the millennial generation, is that we're so afraid of making mistakes that we have to be perfect that we're never learning from our mistakes. And so I think that allowing students to be comfortable and okay with making mistakes is going to help them improve and have a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, which is something I struggle with personally. Is, you know, I want to do everything perfect and right, and when I mess up, it's like, you know, you kind of want to stop and not work on that anymore. So I think just being willing to let the students know that it's okay to make a mistake and help them learn from it and encourage them to be hard workers from that is super important, I think.
Like you said, allow us to make mistakes, but definitely push us as far as we can go. I know a lot of the kids that went through the video production program, we benefited a lot from literally being thrown right into the middle of a production and having to listen to all these people screaming at us and telling us to set up different things. That definitely helped determine if we wanted to continue in that field or not. So give kids experiences and push them a lot.
I guess I have two. I kind of struggled with this with my middle brother, actually. Just like stressing the importance of, you know, your 4 years of high school. I think a lot of kids don't really understand, you know, how important, depending on, like, again, what career you choose to go to, but just how important this time is in their life and how important going to college, like their college is going to make a difference once they graduate. And then I guess the second thing is, like they said, just pushing students and kind of just being there for them. I know like a lot of friends that didn't do that well in high school, went to COC, and now like they go to Berkeley or UCLA. So I think everybody's window is different, and you know, eventually it'll click, but I think just staying persistent with them and always being there to help.
I'm gonna kind of play off a little bit of everyone's here. I would say that letting your students know, like, failure, it's okay to fail. It's absolutely 100% okay to fail. Especially, I try to teach in the academy that I teach at, is that you're gonna fail. It's gonna happen. You're not gonna get this stuff for the first time. A lot of these kids, they experience this stuff, it's brand new, it might as well be Chinese to them. Like, they've never seen half the equipment that I show them. But yeah, trying to get that mindset in, which I know it's hard, but not being afraid to fail and learning from those mistakes, not failing and then keep continuing, and then it's just snowballs. But as I guess an educator, being able to, okay, you see their failure, but then build them up from that. And then I guess try and throw in real life applications. Like, okay, because a lot of kids, especially in high school, what am I going to use calculus for? I don't know, to be a math professor. I don't. But just trying to make whatever it is you teach, like, have some relevancy to whatever, you know, their career path or something they're going to do. But that's what I would say. Dan?
Okay, so this is your opportunity to ask some questions of our panelists. So if you have a question, oh, good, thank you, Brad.
And then you guys can share that with us. very much.
I forget there's junior high school teachers in the audience. So my question is, what did something in junior high, maybe a moment or a teacher or something that made it so what you're talking about led to you to do what you did in high school? Look at their stumps.
For Jake and I, we were in the video production pathway, so I think what sparked our interest was doing the TV production at Seiko and all of that. So actually having a lot of the more real-world classes as electives in junior high definitely helped kind of guide kids in the direction that they wanted to go, having to go, oh, I kind of like this. I can see myself doing this as a career.
To add on to that, in junior high, I'm going to be honest, I had no idea I wanted to be a firefighter at all. I think I was still going like the veterinarian route, I think. But it actually wasn't until high school until it was actually my mom that suggested this career for me. But as far as going back to junior highs, I know that we're making a push, especially, I know last semester we did it. We came out to La Mesa, I brought the fire engine out there and trying to promote, you know, hey, in high school, you could be riding on this, doing all this stuff. So I guess I know as far as the program itself, the CCR program, we're trying to get the word out to the junior high schools, which I think is huge, especially because when you have all these kids coming into high school that don't know what they want to do for careers, have no idea the CCR stuff even exists. But I think that's the big push is, and I think it's a great thing that they did last semester is, you know, getting junior high kids aware of what opportunities they have once they go to high school.
I guess mine is just like a little bit of a different answer. I think junior high kind of gave me the perspective of kind of how to work hard. I remember it was in 8th grade, I got a D in math, and it was just like the end of the world. I got grounded for like a month, and it was so embarrassing too. But I remember Miss Ferry, she was my counselor. And I was so scared to go take high school math, and of course I was like, oh, I'm not gonna get into good college, all this stuff. And you know, she said, I believe in you. As long as you work hard, I think you can get a 4.0 like next year. All you have to do is just work hard, and then let's set you up with a tutor for your 9th grade math. And that like really resonated with me because you know she believed in me, and that actually really helped.
All right, other questions?
Like an auctioneer card.
Jeremy, you talked about perseverance and teaching kids that it's okay to fail. Do you feel like your parents shared that mindset and that helped you feel like that was okay? Or did you have to work like, what was your name again? I'm sorry.
Tanner?
Tanner.
Yeah.
Like Tanner talked about getting grounded for getting a D, but do you feel like your parents helped that mindset of perseverance and failing and finding success after failure?
Oh, absolutely.
So they had the same mindset that it was okay to fail.
Yeah, they have the same mindset, and what I like too is my dad especially, since I grew up playing baseball, and what a lot of people don't realize is baseball is a game of failures. Like, you can fail 70% of the time and still be considered a Hall of Fame athlete. So, and I grew up, yeah, I had that all growing up, like failing's okay, but the biggest thing is learn from that failure. Don't repeat, don't make the same mistake twice. So yeah, definitely having that, as far as my parents, yeah, that was a big, they definitely had that mindset as well.
More questions?
Yeah.
Oh, straight.
So what's your current penalty for being tardy to work
Oh, we're talking.
as compared to high school?
Oh.
For each of you, what if you're late?
Yeah, I hope I'm never late. Yeah, it for us is if I do happen to show up late, we get what's called written up, so it's put into our file, and if we get X amount of write-ups, then it goes into more disciplinary actions, which could lead to deductions in pay, which that's where, it's hard. So that's as far as my job is concerned if we show up late, but yeah, that's usually never happened.
I have like pretty flexible hours, so I mean, if I'm late, I should have to stay late longer. So I guess that's like the worst part for sure.
As part of my personality, I'm a very punctual person, but if I ever was to be late, the penalty would probably be the guilt of setting production back that much time that you were late, and that's not a good thing.
Yeah, in the film industry, everything is done by connections, and so if you are well received by somebody, then they're going to remember you for the future job. And so, for me, working on set with either like Lifetime or I've worked with Discovery Channel on a show before, if you show up late one day on your first day and you're only a production assistant, which is like the lowest level position, already that's like you're perceived as somebody who's not reliable. And so if this continues to happen, you're just going to end up, nobody's going to want to hire you for future jobs. And so it's like, you may get paid for that day, but they could fire you the next day, or they might not give you a call back. And so it's like super important for every single job to be there exactly on the mark.
We got time for about 2 more questions. Any others? Any takers? Okay. All right. Well, in that case, I want to thank all of our panelists who were incredible. For us, we might hear from our students because they're in front of us and we establish relationships from them. But we hardly ever, as a collective, hear from what happens when you leave us. And so this was a really neat opportunity. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Welcome.